Fans of the Horus Heresy, thank you very much for joining me for my latest video reviewing Space Marine armour variants by Forge World, and today we are looking at a tactical squad equipped with Mark V or Heresy armour. Of all the Space Marine armour marks, Mark V is the only one that is not held in high esteem or revered universally as sacred war gear. And the reasons for this lie within its origins. As the Great Crusade was drawing to a close, the Space Marine legions were either partially or fully re-equipped with new, sophisticated Mark IV Maximus armour. However, the outbreak of heresy threw this programme of upgrade into complete disarray, even for those legions who were already fully re-equipped. And the reason for this, even for legions that had been fully re-equipped with new suits of armours, they did not have the required stockpile of spare parts to sustain the combat at the enormous tempo and hectic pace that the Heresy gave. And very soon they found that their Mark IV suits were being rendered non-battle ready due to damage, and the situation only got worse. Mark IV would have been the armour that the legions wore in a post-Crusade Imperium, and would have been a glorious testament to the achievements of mankind. However, the devastation of a heresy rendered it ineffective and left the Space Marine legions desperate for alternative types of armour. And the solution to this armour shortage was derived through the design of what we have in front of us today, Mark V armour. And there's a proverb in the English language that mother is a necessity of invention, and that is very much the motto, you could say, of Mark V armour. It was created from stockpiles of old parts and very quickly designed materials and armour styles to enable it to be mass produced and brought into production. And while it wasn't as sleek, sophisticated and arguably as effective as other marine marks, it still did the job. Right, so let's have a look at one of these guys and get a feel for what Mark V armour looks like. So again, these are multi-part Forge World models. There's, how many kits have we got here today? We've got 5 kits. We've got the Marines themselves, we've got the Phobos pattern bolt guns, we've got Phobos pattern bolt pistols and ammunition pouches. We have a backpack from the Command upgrade set, that's from the Mark VI. We have a Legion Vexler from the Iron Hands Mark III tactical squad as well. So yeah, quite a mixture of parts to make this squad up. The first thing that strikes you about Mark V is it's not very subtle looking, and it's bulky, it's lumpy, and but it also has a certain rugged quality to it as well. And all this, everything about it reflects the dire situation in which it was created. So I guess what jumps out immediately, well, the first thing is all these molecular bonding studs that cover the armour. And basically the background to the molecular bonding studs was these were a way of reinforcing armour plates which had been made of lower quality materials than the normal ceramite used for marine powered armour. And so basically it was used on areas where you could have where cheaper materials had to be used, and you can see that applies to the lower legs, the groin, the left shoulder pad, and then the helm as well. And it gives this armour a very distinct look. The other thing that you would notice about this armour is it has an awful lot of heavy cabling everywhere. And this basically represents a reversion to older primitive cabling designs, such as featured on the Mark II and Mark III suits, to move the power around the armour. And it's described as being a much less efficient armour design than everything preceding it. A very different look of marine armour. It has a new backpack, yet another design of backpack, although this backpack was actually to survive through to the Mark VI suit, where it saw long-standing use. So, and then the other very distinctive thing is the helmet as well. And here we have something that looks very much like a later Mark VII helmet, although The history records that this helmet was actually a spin-off of the Terminator Marine armour development programme. Again, this reflects the ad hoc and necessity-driven nature of this design. Let's have a look at the Vexler bearer. So yeah, so Mark V armour is a fascinating armour design, and in the post-Heresy world, certainly with the Loyalist chapters, a lot of them it fell out of use because of its association with the Horus Heresy and the grim period of the Imperium. Although that is not universally held by all Marine chapters, some still do retain a few suits. So you know, it still has a place in the 40k landscape, but for the Horus Heresy, it represents an era of resupply and re-equipment once the Heresy had really started to get going. Both Loyalist and Traitor legions were equipped with this armour. I mean, you know, the chaos of the logistics and Horus's subversion of the supply lines meant that although it was designed by the Loyalists, or is believed to have been designed by the Loyalists, Traitors were also equipped. And Traitors also were descendants of this armour through to the 41st millennium. In terms of modelling on this, so this backpack, so I've got the Mark 6 backpack, or the Mark 5/6 backpack, and I grafted this Vexler onto it, and that was taken from a Mark 3 backpack. So, and I replaced the original resin banner pole there. So that was quite an intricate little conversion. I've got a separate video on that if you're interested. We've got a Phobos pattern bolt pistol and some ammunition pouches as well. Again, these are tactical marines, so I want them to look like they're carrying lots of ammo. We've got the Phobos pattern bolter. These are the new style armour through the ages Mark V Marines. So that means that the hand is moulded onto the weapon, in this case a bolter, and then you just got a straight wrist, which makes them compatible with all the plastics. However, it makes them harder to assemble because putting resin on resin with a flat joint like that isn't very strong. So my tip for assembling these is to put a pin in that wrist. Believe me, it'll make your life a lot easier. These were the first of the new style models that I assembled, and I faffed around with a fair few and had a few breakages before I started doing that, and I found it much easier pinning them. But yeah, but I really like Mark V armour. I think it's got a great look to it, and it has a very different look to other Marine armour marks. And I love the history that goes with it as well. As you can see, you can get some really nice, really neat dynamic poses with this set. So that's really good. I love Marines aiming their bolters. I've used the oblique pin trick. So oblique pin going through the base into the leg, bending, hooking it round, cutting it off, and then encasing it in some milliput to give that nice strong join where you just got one foot on the ground. Some of the, as well as bolt pistols, ammunition pouches, I've also got a few grenades on these guys as well. Let's have a look at another dude. I mean, all the power cabling and studs on these guys give you some great detailing opportunities when it comes to painting. And these guys, I mean, these are going to be iron hands. You know, I can see there's lots of great silver contrasting details that will pick out on these guys to the black armour. One thing that's notable about this design of armour is the molecular bonding studs on the left shoulder pad. Means that you don't have the opportunity to put Legion insignia on in the normal way. So alternatives will need to be found there. Again, you know, you've got the normal Marine styles of heraldry giving way to the practical needs of saving materials. So have a look at this guy so we can see the chest cabling a bit better. Now, there you go. So it has the crossed over cabling design of Mark IV armour on the chest, and it's also got a sort of like central buckle or connector, and if you look at that, some of the very early Space Marine models from the Rogue Trader days had harnesses, power cable harnesses, something like this. So there's, you know, some interesting design cues there, and you can't see it very well, but there is the style of this chest plate and the connector actually bears some resemblance to the later Mark 7 armour. So while this was an ad hoc stopgap armour design, some of the features did carry forward into, you know, Mark 7, which was essentially the final Space Marine armour design for the age of the Imperium. Another Mark 7 style feature is the split articulation knee pad. So you've got a lower groove, and then you've got a separate knee pad as well. And that's a design feature that is standard to Mark 7. You do get some variation with Mark 7 because some have got a single plate, a single armoured groove with a knee combined. But I think like the standard design mirrors this feature here. One thing with oh, there we go. We can see the chest, the underside of a chest armour design there, and this kind of bit here is a feature that carries through to Mark 6 and Mark 7 as well. This kind of like this waist belt. I think it's very easy to overlook Mark 5 armour when doing Space Marine forces, but I'm really pleased I got these guys, and I really think that they bring something to the look of the force, you know, and it also says something about the era that you're gaming in as well. You know, this is Horus Heresy, so why not have a squad equipped with, you know, Heresy armour? I think if I ever add any more heavy support Marines to my Marine force, I'll probably equip them with Mark 5 armour, so I think they'll look rather neat. And also, you know, just feed into that theme of a force in the middle of the Heresy. Let's look at one more model, shall we? Let's have a look at this guy. I chose Phobos pattern bolters to go with these guys, just because I felt that the quite chunky angular design of the Phobos suited them well. But you know, that they would equally be at home carrying a Tigris or an Umbra pattern bolter as well. And as you can see, as is always the case with Forge World Armour Through the Ages sets, you get a lot of poseability, just in terms of the basic numbers of poses, but also in terms of resin models, so you can heat them up and manipulate them into new poses as well. I did look at this guy. Now the Nuncio box operator has got a proper Mark 5 Nuncio Vox set or communication backpack. This part comes from the Mark 6 upgrade set, which Forge will actually do. If you want to get it, if you've got any Mark 5s or 6s and you want this, it's tucked away right at the bottom of the catalogue list. I found it a bit hard to find on the website, but it is there. Yeah, and it just looks really good having that gear consistent with the rest of the armour. Cool. Anyway, there you go. That's my overview of Mark 5 Heresy armour by Forge World. As the Heresy raged, another armour mark was about to come to the fore, which has some interesting origins in terms of its design and its purpose. And this armour, from being something of perhaps an experimental type, was going to become a standardised type. And that, of course, is a Mark 6 or Corvus suit. So I hope you've enjoyed that overview of Mark 5 Heresy armour. Thank you very much for watching. I'll speak to you next time, and goodbye.